Well, hello everyone. Another another Monday. Monday. But if I keep doing interesting cases like today, I think I might have to change my opinion on Mondays. I might. Cuz today I woke up and I didn't even call it second Sunday. I was like, "Whoa, look at all this stuff I got to do today. Look at these interesting things that happened over Thanksgiving week." Hmm. If you'd been following any of these stuff, which some of you do, I know. I call you murder minions, but it's more than that, isn't it? It's more than murder. It's just the legalities and the true crime in general. You know, in one of the most interesting things that happened over Thanksgiving week here on the East Coast, at least, is for the state of New York. The state of New York actually extended statutes for the Adult Survivors Act. Well, it started as the Children's Survivors Act, and it was based on crimes that may have been committed against children, and basically, it was to help the survivors of things that may have happened during all of that hubbub about the Catholic diocese, all of the stuff that was pushed under the rug, and nobody really had a chance to address it. And the state of New York had made legislation for those children to come forward as adults and file charges against people they felt did misdeeds to them in their youth. It's called the Survivors Act for a reason. They'd been dealing with things for many years, and there had to be a way to legally address it mm, by addressing the statute of limitations. And you guys know I tell you often, I am one of the hooks I love about legal is the statute of limitations things. I mean, when somebody does something wrong, what is a reasonable length of time that you can actually address it? How will it affect the court systems, justice in general, biased opinions, memory, all of that? It's such a topic. It's bigger than this episode can be. But you all know I'm very interested in it. Um, and this, I've been following this for quite a while. Um, we do have the the Child Survivors Act, and at that point, when it first was put in through legislation and it passed and it became enacted, it only addressed those up to the age of 23. Um, if you were younger than 23 or younger, you could press charges. You could bring forward allegations against the church. So it gave you a window. Much comment was made on that legislation in regards to it not doing enough. Adult survivors in their 30s and 40s that had been dealing with it all their life came forward. They petitioned legislation. This is a good example of how locally you can get something done because it was addressed by large groups, small groups, and individuals. And what happened was the age got extended to 55, and they created a look back year, which means you could actually file now outside of the statute of limitations for this whole next year against anyone for prior to the legislation changing. This is huge. It's unfortunate for a few famous people, but it's huge. Okay, it's unfortunate because people who thought nothing would ever happen, like the case I'm going to talk about, which is E. Jean Carroll, a writer. Mm, And she has a current defamation case against Donald Trump. And that defamation case stemmed from her claims that she was assaulted by him in a department store a long time ago in New York. She had spoke about it, she wrote about it, and during his campaign in 2018, 2017, he called her out on the campaign trail, disparaged her, called her a liar, said rather negative things about her, caused a whole bunch of legal hubba lubba lubba, let me tell you. Mm. But let me put Jean up for you. I have a picture here for you of her. This is Jean Carroll. That's not the most recent picture. There are other ones, shorter hair. She's a couple years older. Um, but she's pursuing justice for herself. Okay, he came out and said, "Oh, she's not my type." While he's on the campaign trail, and also after he got elected, he spoke on it a lot. And because he spoke on it after he got elected, this became a problem because while he was in office, officials cannot be held to statements as far as defamatory statements while doing the course of their job, so to speak. So this, of course, went back and forth to the Supreme Court, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, because they actually had to get a letter from the government that said, yes, at the time, Donald Trump was the president. So anything that he said, he was acting in the course of his duties. But um, Jean Carroll has Roberta Kaplan as her attorney. And I have great respect for Roberta Kaplan. She's a fierce attorney. She tackles issues that many will not approach. She is an advocate for supporting of victims, for women in general, and just for equality. Now, I wouldn't call her an extremist, though, but I would say I wouldn't tangle with the woman. That I'll say. Okay. She knows her law. She's tenacious and she comes forward. Her name means a lot. Her name, if you've got to go against her, um, has some weight. She is approaching the Supreme Court by saying, hey, well, I don't think when you talk about your personal lawsuits or stuff that that's actually performing the duties of the president. Because how is it performing the duties of a president to speak that way about anybody? Was he writing a law at the time? Was he having a conference in regards to something huge? Was he addressing the concerns of a nation? Hmm? Or even his party? No. He was speaking about a personal issue. There's a line there. There's a line there that needs to be drawn. And it needs to be drawn for accountability. Roberta Kaplan's got a point. Okay? She got a big point here. Now, I understand the law the way it is, and we need to have government officials to have some type of protection to be able to perform their duties. I get that. I get it. But there's a line, okay? What other crimes would he be allowed to commit under while he was president that he couldn't be charged with? Questions. I have questions. Okay. Um, you see what I'm you see where I'm going? Uh, I think Roberta Kaplan has a point. Well, and they are allowing this case to go through. They're still going back and forth, okay? Because they both have good lawyers on their side. It is going back and forth and back and forth. I get it. No, I get it. But what happened over Thanksgiving week was that the law became effective that she could actually file on the actual assault now. Hmm. And she put out a letter in the beginning of November. I do believe I mentioned it on one of my updates that she intended, Jean Carroll intended with Roberta Kaplan to file and amend her defamation suit to include the actual assault because it would be legally appropriate now. And she was able. And that's what the law was intended to do. And they did. They did. They actually came forward and they filed it. He's now got this against him. It's been added to the file. I'll show you how they amended. Let me just put myself up, try to get the other one now. I'm wondering, I'm hoping the red comes through. This is how let's see if I can make it even bigger for you. Although I'll read the key points for you, just so you know we're getting it right from the original here. They had to make it a little bit bigger. That might help. Okay, so I'm not going to go over every part, but I think you could see, I'm hoping the red comes through, that is showing you where the changes have been made. This is the original complaint. In red are the annotations, the actual change, the changes that are been done. Up here, you will see that it is have been filed. They submitted it to the court on the 17th. When the law came through, they wanted it officially filed, so it's got this temporary number here, um, for the case. It's an ad. Okay. Yep. Thank you very much, Godless. I'm hoping you can see it well. And for those of you that are interested, I share. So here you go. If you can pull that up. Oh, well, wait, that might not pull it up all the way. Hold on. I don't know if that somebody check that link and tell me if it's usable for you. If not, I will get you another one. Um okay, so roughly the assault happened 27 years ago amongst what she's called Playful Banner at a luxury department store, Bergdorf Goodman on Fifth Avenue, New York City. Very high end store. Okay. Took a dark turn when defending Donald J. Trump seized plaintiff E. Jean Carroll and forced her up against a dressing room wall, pinned her in place with his shoulder, and assaulted her. With the legal term for that assault being penetration without consent. You know where I'm going. Right. She chose silence, as she had said before, for over 2 decades. This was all okay. I'll take it down. I will put one in the thank you, Sandy. The link isn't usable, so I will definitely take it down and give you a better link in the description after the show. I have to recreate the link for you. Okay. Carroll, in her previous filing for the defamation, had stated that she had confided in close friends, but she chose not to go to the police. That it did happen, and she wasn't going to accuse a rich, famous, violent man of assault because she would lose everything. She reasonably concluded that if she accused Trump of the assault, he would bury her in threats and lawsuits, and she would probably lose her reputation, not to mention everything she had worked for and achieved. 27 years ago, as a woman in her industry, to get where she was commendable. To stay there was difficult. It was not an easy thing to do, and I understand her concerns. And I think many who have been around for a little while will understand it also. And if we look through history in how things have progressed over the last 50 years, you might get it. You might get the situation she was in. And you might then be able to understand the choices that she made to be quiet. Um, when the election was with Trump was going for the election in 2016, she watched in horror as many women, she claims in here, were joining his campaign. Even after several things came out about his treatment of women, some tapes came out, you may remember, about some conversations he had and how disparagingly he talked about women. And at that point, she said that, well, he might still be doing it. He might still be treating women this way. It wasn't an isolated incident. Okay. Come along the same time, the Me Too thing came forward. Harvey Weinstein and that whole industry. Everything got bigger for her then. She started speaking on it and writing on it, and everyone was telling their stories. Okay. So E. Jean Carroll continued with hers. Okay, when she published it in an article and also in a book, okay, um, fellow journalists started to contact her as a victim, and she told her story on her terms. And when it was published, of course, she claims Trump made additional false claims about Carroll all the way into 2022, more than 3 years after she first went public damaging her reputation even further. Roberta Kaplan's point here is that not only is there the original assault, and we've got defamation to which you claim he was protected for by him being a president at the time under a statute that clearly says he cannot be, his words can't be used against him. Well, when he's the ex-president in 2022, does that still hold? Absolutely not. Case is being reopened, relooked at by the it's being pushed forward. He went forward when he heard that she was going to be filing these charges and he knows about the statute in New York and he's decided to speak on it. He went out there and made further statements of defamation against her, opening up another whole can of worms in this case because now they're filing all of that evidence to say you can't shut this down just because he was the president. Look, it's still going on. I'm going to use this old case that I'm going to use the old information and I'm going to add all this new information and we're going to go forward. At least that is what Roberta Kaplan is petitioning for to the court. In red, she says Trump's underlining sexual assault severely injured Carroll, causing significant pain and suffering, lasting psychological harms, loss of dignity, invasion of her privacy. His recent defamatory statement has only added to the harm that Carroll had already suffered. They have already said that she was a resident, and now they're adding domiciliary of the state of New York, and they're doing that because some of the statute wording has changed. Defendant Donald J. Trump is the former president of the United States. Trump is currently a resident and a domiciliary of Florida. Okay, they're amending all of this. This court was subject matter jurisdiction over this because the parties are citizens of different states and the amount in controversy exceeds this amount, which is why they're filing it what they are. Venue is proper pursuant because a substantial part of the events given rise to this action occurred in the judicial district, meaning the assault happened in New York. This court has personal jurisdiction over Trump pursuant to New York's long arm statute. And that means that if it was done here and he comes and goes, the long arm statute, they could apply. They have to prove jurisdiction. We've had cases like this that get thrown out for jurisdiction because they're not filed under the proper venue. But Roberta Kaplan is taking care of all of that. The court may also exercise pending personal jurisdiction over Trump for claims that share a common nucleus of operative facts. Jurisdiction over Trump is all the more appropriate because in September of 2020, Trump voluntarily removed a related action against him, captioned Carroll v. Trump, to this court pursuant to the Westfall Act. They're amending that where she spoke about it. She was on America's Talking. She was also on a frequent guest and commentator and on the Today and now they're adding Good Morning America because since the original filing in 2019, she's talked about it in other places. This is the photograph. Trump and Carroll had previously been photographed at a party together because Trump is claiming he does not know who she is, that he's never met her. Okay. They're adding details to the actual assault that was listed here before, where they just started before in the filing that Trump put his hand to stop her from exiting. She's saying where? At the 58th Street revolving glass doorway of Bergdorf's, like right at the doorway, the entrance. She's being more specific about the incident there. There's a lot in here about what happened, and I don't want to go over it all in detail. That's not what this is about. What this clearly is about is the changing of the suit and how it's become relevant now, and actually to speak about that statute of limitations law, Jane. Okay. They clearly, if they're going to go for the assault charges, they have to say that these statements here that Trump attacked Carroll without her consent in order to satisfy his own sexual desires, and Trump's physical contact with Carroll was offensive and wrongful. And again, they're claiming penetration with no consent. Then they go into the history as previously in the 2019 suit about her confiding with her two friends their statements becoming relevant to the memories of what has happened here. She also puts forward, that she's stating that the only reason she didn't come forward is what Trump would have done to her, and that's the statute of limitations. And she was concerned the statute of limitations ran out. Carroll also considered that in our society, women who have been assaulted are looked at as spoiled goods, and she resented the fact that practically every woman who courageously came forward with their stories of abuse were subjected to questions like, why didn't you scream? Why didn't you come forward immediately? That's a valid concern. To this day, we see that. I heard those things exactly in the Masterson trial in 2022 from a well educated attorney in a state of California that protects the victim against those kinds of things. They did it anyway. What? Okay. She did not talk about it for over 20 years. Amended. And although Carroll was reluctant to use the word rape because she did not want to be perceived by others as a victim for the reasons discussed above, she never had any doubt that Trump had sexually assaulted her. Trump's sexual assault of Carroll has caused her and continues to cause her significant pain and suffering, lasting psychological and pecuniary harms, loss of dignity and self esteem, and invasion of her privacy. As a result of the pain and suffering caused by Trump's assault, Carroll has not been able to sustain a romantic relationship since the day Trump assaulted her, nor has she engaged in sex with anyone since that time. Carroll has had difficulty trusting men and cannot maintain an intimate relationship. In Carroll's own words, the music had stopped and the light had gone out after her attack at Bergdorf's. This is going to be a case about the damage that people cause. How much will this come in? How much are they going to allow that to be put into evidence? I am really going to be focusing on that on this part of the trial, because where are they going to draw the line? Where are they going to draw the line of his responsibility, for one? Because these are all alleged accusations. Remember, I'm just reading the filing from one side of this lawsuit, Jean Carroll's, okay, but not Trump's response yet. I still need to see Trump's lawyer's response to the amendment. Okay. They will probably try to get this tossed out also. Okay. Um, she talks in here about other survivors who became co-workers and who um, had other issues about their actual assaulter becoming their co-workers and things like that. And she's adding different words in here just to correct the record, but they don't really change the filing, so I'm not going to go into it. I'm going to only focus on those that actually changed the filing based on the statute. Um, the next pages, of course, go into how she came forward to talking and where she talked about it. She's quite open about the assault. She doesn't mince any words in it. In her book, in her interviews, she talks about the clothing, the thing, everything that happened. Okay. Um. Uh, after Car- After Carroll came forward, Trump publicly denied the attack in three separate statements published on June 21st, 22nd, and 24th. Now, these are from the actual first lawsuit. This is the actual statements he made in 2019, that they are going back and forth on whether they are protected by the privilege of his office at the time. Okay. Um, it was in New York Magazine. It was a reporter. In regards to the photograph, you said earlier that you never met E. Jean Carroll. This is from a reporter. There was a photograph of you and her in the late 1980s. Trump responded, I have no idea who this woman is. This is a woman who has also accused other men of things, as you know. It is a totally false accusation. I think she was married, as I read. I have no idea who she is, but she was married to actually a nice guy, Johnson, a newscaster. Hmm. You were in a photograph with her, standing with coat on in a line. Give me a break. With my back to the camera, I have no idea who she is. What she did is terrible. What's going on? So it's a total false accusation, and I don't know anything about her, and she's made this charge against others. They're going to amend the part of him speaking, number 87, speaking to Carroll, Martin, and a reporter, Bernbach said, and they're going to correct some of the words in here to make it clearer. They're going to state, I remember that Carroll saying repeatedly he pulled down my tights. Carroll did say he put his penis in me. And I said, my face just did it. What? He assaulted you. And Carol said, he kept pulling down. He pulled down my tights. She's adding the word he. He pulled down my tights. It just was horrible. We fought, and Bernbach, said, let's go to the police. Carol said, she's clarifying, no. Clarifying, Bernbach said, come to my house. And Carol said, no, I want to go home. Clarifying that Bernbach is the one who said, I'll take you to the police. And Carol was the one who said, no, it was 15 minutes of my life. It's over. Don't ever tell anybody. I just had to tell you. They're correcting it. But here we go. Here are the new statements, the ones that are going to go for defamation now against the case. Okay. But, okay, remember in defamation, they have to prove that the statements are false. So now, because she's charging him of assault, she's going to have to come forward with her testimony about what happened. The people that she told have to come forward and say what she told them that had happened. And it's going to be up to a jury on whether it happened or not and whether these are defamation. 3 years after the June 2019 defamatory statements, Trump, at this point, no longer president, once again made false and insulting claims about Carroll. More specifically, on October 12th of 2022, he posted the following. Now, he made these in writing, okay? This Miss Berghoff Goodman case doesn't even refer to her by her name, okay? I don't know this woman. The reason she doesn't know it is because it never happened. He's actually going against whatever she said. He obviously knows what she's been saying. He claims it's a hoax and a lie. I'm not going to read it all based on time, but I am going to give you guys this filing later. He continued, in the meantime, and for the record, E. Jean Carroll is not telling the truth. Is a woman who I had nothing to do with, didn't know, and would have no interest in knowing her if I ever had the chance. Now, all I have to do is go through years more of legal nonsense in order to clear my name of her and her lawyers' phony attacks on me, because this can only happen to Trump. That appeared on Truth Social. He's also gone through the Trump Media and Technology Group, one of Trump's many businesses, which owns them. He created Truth Social as he was banned from Twitter. They're just stating why he's posting there. He published the October 12th statement to his more than 4 million followers on Truth Social. There's a whole bunch of case law here that she's adding. And statements on where it all got reposted, carried forth, all the articles that came through. It's all here. Everything that was said in regards to her filing and his response is all listed here by Kaplan. On and on. Okay. In the October 12th statement, Trump falsely stated that he did not assault Carroll. In the October 12th statement, Trump falsely stated that he had no idea who Carroll was. In the October 12th statement, Trump falsely implied and affirmatively intended to imply that Carroll had invented the accusation as a hoax, a scam, or a ploy to increase her book sales. And here's all the proof. Again. Okay, so then also in the October 12th statement, Trump also insulted Carroll's physical appearance again. Okay, he did that originally, but he's just coming back and doing it again. Everything he did originally, that the Supreme Court held up he may not be charged with because it can't be defamatory if he is speaking, can't use defamatory law against him if he's speaking in the product of his position as president during as his work, mm, doing his job. So what does he do? He goes and does it all again when he's not president. Exactly the same stuff too. Went on her everything. Her attacked her physical appearance, and he applied that she was too ugly for him to have assaulted her. This insulting statement was consistent with other statements that Trump made in response to other accusations of assault by other women. They're changing the dates here of the false statements. Okay. In other words, these dates are now for 2022. They're just saying that they're just going against it. They're changing and adding the dates to be current. They are saying it's defamatory because Trump lacked any factual basis for his statement, implying that Carroll had revealed to the public that he assaulted her at Bergman Dorvis to promote a really crummy book. And since his statement about Carroll was made to impute motives for lying, when in fact he knew that Carroll had spoken the truth, Trump had some strong reason to doubt the veracity of his own insulting claims. In other words, they're saying, you knew better. That's why it's defamatory. You are actually putting forth something you know to be a lie about someone else or an untruth. That's defamatory. Then they're going to bring up they're correcting the wording in the tape that was put out during the campaign and some things, and they're just correcting a bunch of minor words in here, but they are adding in under the seventh part of Carroll suffers reputational and other harm, they've added this caveat. He has since created and used his own powerful social media platform to attack her integrity, demean her appearance, condemn her as a liar, and accuse her of fabricating the assault allegation to promote a book. Trump's October tweet statement has caused her, and they're just adding the dates again and again and again to just include it. Hello, Colin. Thank you for lurking. Hi, John. Yes, John. This is a tactic he has done before. Okay, now we're going to go into the causes of action, which are battery, and they're going to go through again exactly what happened and why it's battery. Okay, and they're adding count two, defamation, in regards to the October 12th statement of 2022. And then the prayer for relief is now that he retract his defamatory statement, that Carroll be awarded compensatory damages in the amount to be determined by the trial. They want a jury demand, by the way, and that punitive and exemplary damages in amount be determined, and that pre and post judgment they want him to pay for all the costs because he's making her do this because he won't admit that it happened. So the plaintiff, E. Jean Carroll, hereby demands a trial by jury on all issues so triable pursuant to Rule 38 of the Federal Rules of Civil Procedure. So that is that. Okay. Uh, I know it's a lot, right? Um, and thank you for actually allowing me to read the changes for you. I will submit it below. I want to get another image of Carol up for you. This is her today, more closely. Um, the when she first came out with the book, the long hair picture was from there. Okay. But this is now pretty much closer to what she looks like to this day. This is a more accurate picture now. And I just think in these cases I like to we all know what President Trump looks like. I'm not gonna put a picture of him. He's everywhere. You know who we're talking about. Okay. And I'm not doing this because I'm left or right, mm, Democrat or Republican. This legal case about statute of limitations, it's really important for New York law right now. That's really important because of the length of time that happened, because it went to the Supreme Court to try to get the defamation tossed out based on an official being able to say whatever they want on a platform against anyone they want, and that be considered them doing their job. And to me, I don't know. I see issues there. I want to see legally where this ends up. This is intriguing to me, not because it's an assault case, please. That's the last thing I want to deal with right now is another assault case. But this does happen to affect it because of the statute of limitations and because that's what the defamatory statements were about. Okay, so just to let you know where my focus is and where my coverage is going to be on this. Um, I will add that Trump has got a lot of legal cases going on. I got one more to tell you about, and then I'm going to go on to Murdaugh. But let me just, hmm, I'll bring up the next one. The Trump organization is also being sued in multiple venues, civilly and criminally. The criminal case is going on right now, and that itself has. Oh, this is of interest. This link works. This is an article from a lawyer site from MS Legal about the New York Adult Survivors Act. For those of you that have an interest in this as I do, I talked to you privately. You let me know you had an interest. I wanted to find the statutes for you and find some. It will give you more information on it, what the actual statute is, what it actually meant, how it happened, where it's going, um, so that you can track better why we're covering this the way we are. Um, that'll also be added to the description at a later date. Okay, here we go. Okay, so this trial, the prosecution has less. This is another trial that the Trump organization, Trump being part of, but not the only one named. Okay, um, that company has. They're going to come through with their defense now in a criminal tax fraud trial. But what has already happened is that the co-defendant, Alan Weisselberg, who was the company's former chief financial officer, pled guilty in August to all those charges, including grand larceny and tax fraud. Okay. The Trump organization that's being sued operates hotels, golf courses, real estate around the world. They're being accused of hiding executive perks from tax authorities for more than 15 years and falsely reporting bonuses as non employee compensation. And the company itself pled not guilty. And they could face up to $1.6 million in fines for 3 tax fraud counts and 6 other counts it faces if convicted. Trump himself is not actually being charged. The organization is. All right. The first witness that they called was Donald Bender, an accountant for with the firm Mazars, who handled the Trump organization taxes. Okay. Bender had been granted immunity from prosecution for testifying before the grand jury that indicted the company as well as Weisselberg because he's the chief financial officer. The company's lawyers told jurors in their opening statements on October 31st that Weisselberg acted on his own and that Bender should have spotted the CFO's actions. In other words, we're not responsible. We had an attorney and we had an accountant, and they don't talk to us. They don't tell us what's going on. They just do whatever they want to do, and we let them go. That's their defense so far. That what they predicted they'll say. I'm really curious to see what happens next week in the court, all this week in court with them. I really am, because the prosecution did less, and Weisselberg came forward, and he did put in a guilty plea. So in questioning Bender for more than 2 hours, um, The defense lawyer, this one was Susan Necheles, sought to show that he was wary or of upsetting Weisselberg and tried to say that, was it Mr. Weisselberg who personally approved all of the fees that were paid? And Bender said yes. So because Weisselberg signs the checks, obviously they're saying that they're trying to elude that Bender's testimony would be biased. Um, yeah, maybe, but there are tax authorities. When you look about the authority and what they can do to you and like how he could lose his license, how they could all lose their licenses, their ability to make money, I doubt that that actually happened, but that's just me. I'm just find it interesting they're going there. They're trying. Okay. But Weisselberg, during his 3 days of testimony last week, said he worked with Trump Organization's controller to misreport his and others' income on company tax forms, would let the company save on salary payments as well as payroll taxes. The prosecution's final witness was Mukala Ravio, an auditor with the New York State Department of Taxation and Finance. Okay, who was pointing out all of the things that happened and all of the things when doing the audit that they found in misrepresenting the books as reported on the tax returns. Okay. Um, the criminal case is separate from the also $250 million civil lawsuit filed by New York's Attorney General against Trump and three of his adult children and his company, which was filed in September, which accuses them of overstating assets and defrauding banks and his net worth to get favorable bank loans and insurance coverage, which in New York has also a lot of high. I mean, there are quite a few things financially that are being actually filed against Trump now. Um, Basically, he's not when he says that people are just coming at him because who he is, there might be a little bit of truth to that. But hear me out. Not what you think. Not because we just don't like him. Maybe it's because he gets up on a podium and says, "You can't do anything to me. I'll do what I want. You can't touch me." Kind of incites riot on the people he's doing wrong to. Just a little bit. Just a little bit, I think, and yes, that's a personal statement. I'm a little bit biased about people who come out and say, "I will do everything. I will protect myself from everything. You can't do a damn thing to me." I kind of feel a certain way that people may try a little bit harder. Um, I don't think they're doing anything wrong. If he's done this, he's done this. Why doesn't he have to answer like everybody else? Why does he get to cry victim because he's a public victim figure? He doesn't. If his company did this, his company did this. And they do have a history. They already can't run charitable organizations in the state because they defrauded so many. We've always already got quite a few bankruptcies on file, quite a few industries that were affected. Here in New Jersey, a whole industry in Atlantic City that's really not too fond of him right now because of the way he dealt with people and what he legally did and or what they appear to say was illegally done also. I mean, there's a lot going on. Granted, these are all allegations, okay? And I'm not a lawyer, I'm not even a paralegal, but it just looks very, very messy. And when it comes to tax law, and books versus what you file in authorities. Ignorance of the law is never a defense. Also, Weisselberg may have been the chief financial officer, and he's now saying that this stuff happened, okay? But it's not his tax return, is it? Who do you think the IRS is going to hold in total blame for these, regardless of who submitted it through? Because whether Weisselberg told him it was not right or not, it's their responsibility if it's on the form. They would have to actually sue him separately, okay? They can't just use it as a defense here and think they're gonna get away with it because the law is the law. And, correct me, any lawyer out there, I checked with a few, but if you don't believe that that is true, please contact me, but that's what I am being told, that that can't be a defense, that not with the IRS. You file that tax return, if it's yours, you're responsible for it, okay? U.S. Attorney General Merrick Garland on Friday named a special counsel to oversee The Justice Department's investigations related to Trump, including his handling of sensitive government documents after leaving office and efforts to overturn the 2020 election. That I'm mentioning only because there's so much going on with Trump right now. There's so many lawsuits to cover. I don't want to get them all confused. I'm going to actually put it up on my community tab to see if you want the Trump coverage of the legal lawsuits to actually be separate from the updates because, like, I don't know how I can cover 5, 6 of them all in like 1 hour here with other things. I know you like a little bit more variety, but this is all I'm going to say right now about this particular one, which is the criminal fraud case about misrepresenting payroll and bonuses in things on taxes with the IRS, where the chief financial officer, Weisselberg, has already pled guilty. The prosecutors have already rested their case, and this week we go to the defense, and we're going to see what happens with this. We'll be filing this one. We will also be following Jean Carroll's case and that new filing there. But now, if with your grace, I would like to talk about Richard Alex Murdaugh. Yeah, Murdaugh. He's back in it. News. Oh gosh. This just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. I I don't even know where to start. Well, I do, actually. Let's start with a conviction. I don't have a picture of the convicted person. However, the banker, hold on one second. Whoop, just lost my keyboard. Um, Russell Lucius Laffitte, I want to say is how you say his name. I could be pronouncing it wrong. He was just found guilty of these bank charges. He was one of the bankers that Alex Murdaugh used to help move all this money around and supposedly commit the fraud that he committed. Okay. I want to say Lafitte. It's Laffitte. Russell Lucius. Okay, in Hampton County. He has been found guilty on some of the allegations that have been levied with both him and also with Alex in general. Okay. Um, but there's even more going on. Okay. There's even more going on because that is part of the criminal stuff that's been going on. And I understand that a lot of that gets a little confusing when we go to try and talk about all of the 18 indictments against Richard Alex Murdaugh. Yeah, 18 of them. Okay. A lot of them are financial and fraud, defrauding the bank, defrauding his clients, misrepresenting himself in his duties as a lawyer, um, obstruction, so much, so much. Some of those cases have been settled, like the $1 million lawsuit settlement for the housekeeper who died in his home, and he represented the family with the insurance company and then just didn't give them the money. They won that case. That's been adjudicated. That money's been put out. The family actually did started a foundation with that money. Um, that's one of them that was settled and put aside. We have a lot of things going back and forth in accusations about the boat ride that both his sons were on that led to the demise of a young woman. There is a bit, he's named in that for helping to obstruct justice in far as interviews and all on which one of his sons was actually driving. He may be indicated there. They're going after the liquor store company or the company that sold them the liquor, which was some kind of convenience store thing. They're going over other people who actually gave false testimony. It's a mess. Okay. There's also investigations still going on here and there into a young man who was found who died very young. Both his sons are to have contact with him in that area. It was not that far from his home. It's the crowds that they had. He was also speaking with police and everything about that. It seems to be that there seems to be a pattern here that wherever Alex Murdaugh went to talk to the police for anybody or help out is now all being come into question because he's been indicted on so much and found to have lied, misled, and been guilty of quite a few things. Just everything that has him as a statement or, as coming forward as the lawyer who's going to help straighten this out, the big family name, and he was going to be so like, work on it with you or whatever. It's all in question. It's all in question now. So all the cases are all getting jumbled up and all going all over the place. It's getting rather confusing even for someone like myself who follows legal briefs quite every day. Let's just say every day. And I'm not a lawyer. I just do it for fun. I can't imagine how the lawyers feel on this. Okay. Um, because it's getting to be really wild. I mean, really wild. Like I just can't even I'll just come out with here we go. Alex Murdaugh, his attorneys, okay, are saying that evidence has been destroyed by the state. Okay, and they have a new filing out. I'm going to bring up, I think I did. Bye, Alex. They're going to be motion to exclude false testimony and evidence destroyed by the state. Okay. Just briefly, attorneys representing the South Carolina lawyer Alex Murdaugh, who was accused of killing his wife and son back in June of 2021, say the shirt he wore the day of the double murder has been destroyed by the state. Murdaugh is awaiting trial in the deaths of his wife and one of his sons, on supposedly on the property in South Carolina's Low Country, and he faces nearly 100 other charges related to embezzlement and a bizarre suicide for horror plot involving Murdaugh's cousin, and many. Those are the other 17 indictments that I'm referring to. The defendant's attorney, Dick Harpootlian, and Jim Griffin, and remember, Dick Harpootlian is really big in that county. He's another very politically connected, very strong lawyer family in that area. They are arguing in a 96-page motion. Do not panic, people. Not reading it to you. Don't worry. We're not going to be here till midnight. Those 96 pages were filled Wednesday with accusations that the state of South Carolina is relying on bad faith evidence from Murdaugh's white t-shirt, apparently splattered with blood, and that the prosecutors are using to place Murdaugh at the scene of his wife and son's murders. Okay. The state needs, quote from the attorneys, the state needs blood splatter evidence because it is exceedingly difficult to explain how Murdaugh could have murdered Paul with multiple 12 gauge shotgun blasts at point blank range in a small closet without getting at least some blood splattered on his shirt. After all, blood was splattered all over the closet doors, walls, and ceilings. Okay. Harpootlian and Griffin state in the filing that the South Carolina Law Enforcement Division conducted a DNA test on the stains in June 2021 and determined that blood splatter marks on Murdaugh's shirt came back positive for DNA from Murdaugh's wife, but negative for DNA from his son. Okay. It turned completely blue. All stains were blue, fuzzy, diffused, and bled out their features, lost forever, Harpootlian and Griffin wrote. This is well-known documented issue with LCV tests. There are methods to prevent LCV tests from staining the entire substance over time, but SLED, which were the testing agencies, okay, elected to conduct his test in a manner that would prevent anyone else from conducting subsequent tests. They're complaining that everything was tested, that evidence is being put in, but we don't have the ability to retest because of how they tested. Okay. Does that makes that's a little clearer. Okay. Despite the apparent destruction of the church, this is how they say they destructed. So even though the headline alludes like they just got rid of the evidence, no, they didn't. They did testing on it, and the testing made it unable to be retested in some manner that they want to test it. Okay. So, despite the apparent destruction of the skirt, Bevel stated in his final report in March that bloodstain pattern expert agreed that the best explanation for the stains on the shirt are high velocity blood splatter, most likely resulting from the shooting of Paul. And that was what they're stating the results of their testing showed. But the opposing counsel is saying you can't because we don't have the opportunity to retest it and bring an expert witness against it because the shirt is now in a condition that we can't even have an expert witness do their own testing. Murdaugh's defense team said they were totally unaware of this until November 4th. And when they requested that the t-shirt be sent to an independent lab, which would take microscopic photographs of the evidence, the state then informed Murdaugh's defense that the shirt had turned black and could not be photographed, according to the defense. Murdaugh's lawyers are now arguing that the bias lead destroyed the t-shirt either in bad faith or by gross negligence. However, they go on to claim that the state's alleged bad faith goes beyond the destruction of the shirt. Okay. They say that they are honestly they were dishonest in concealment of the destruction when obtaining a false report from Mr. Bevel stating Mr. Murdaugh's shirt had over 100 high velocity impact splatter bloodstains consistent with a gunshot, when SLED knows the shirt does not have any human blood on it at all, based on Mr. Bevel's purported examinations of the shirt on March 10th, 2022, that in fact was already destroyed. Murdaugh's attorneys claimed that Bevel changed his report about the t-shirt to be consistent to what the state wanted it to be. That's a huge accusation. Huge. Huge. So this is all in motions going forward now. 96 pages, okay, about the evidence, but they're not just talking, okay, about that. Okay. They want all Brady material. It has intentionally withheld and prohibited the state from presenting manipulated opinion testimony contradicted by exculpatory evidence that the state has destroyed in bad faith. They're saying that the testimony, everything that was actually submitted, does not actually go with what the short shirt pertains, that the conflicting reports need to be removed, and that the evidence, and that therefore they can't place him at the scene. It basically, okay. Okay. They are saying that SLD's destruction of Mr. Murder's shirt may well have happened in bad faith, but it could also be mere gross negligence. Either way, bad. The defense is entitled to a pretrial hearing where counsel can question the lab analysts and all of this. They didn't destroy the t-shirt, Crazy Cat. What they did is do testing on it that made it untestable by the defense. It turned black. So they're talking about blood spatter and DNA here. And there was a report about how the blood spatter appeared on the shirt, what it appeared like to them. Then they did testing to confirm the DNA of the blood. And apparently, in that process, the shirt turned black where the spots are. And it cannot be further tested by the defense. That's their whole thing. And the defense is now stating that that was negligence and or bad faith. They did it on purpose. And they want the reports, the prior reports of the condition of the shirt before it turned black, to be removed from evidence. They want a trial. They want a pretrial hearing on that evidence, on this, to say that that can't go in because we can't oppose it. We can't bring an expert to test it. We asked for photographs to be taken and they can't be taken. You're only giving us this, but we wanted more, and we don't have the ability to contra your reporting. So therefore it should be kicked out. Okay? And that in all likelihood could happen. It does look as if some parts of the prosecutor's ca- uh, case could be damaged. In conclusion, for the foregoing reasons, the court should order the state to produce all communications with Mr. Bevel, who did the first report, including and the second amendment, all the draft reports and presentations, in other words, the whole process of the reporting, okay, forthwith, and conduct an evidentiary hearing on the testing and chemical destruction of Mr. Murdaugh's shirt. Order the state to ensure that Mr. Bevel's presence at the hearing prohibit the state from offering testimony at trial about blood spatter patterns on Mr. Murdaugh's shirt, and order any other relief it finds appropriate after considering argument and evidence presented at the hearing. Mm. Yeah. Yep. Mm. And now, questions. Let me just put Alex back up since we're still going to talk about him for a little bit. Now, wow, right? Hey, Sean, nice to see you. Aaron, nice to see you. Alice, it's good to see you. And Crazy Cat, yeah, I answered for you. It's a little bit crazy. It is a little crazy what is happening in this case right now. Because remember, they argued last update. I told you about them arguing about the timeline. And then the state officially moved that timeline to say, hey, here's what we're saying. And they were demanding that Murdaugh, if you're going to say this, if you're going to come out in public as the defense and say that you were somewhere else, you need to tell us where that was. Like, where was he? Like, what's going on? Where's your alibi you're squawking about? Like, come on. And they did change the timeline based on an analysis of the phone that he used, witnesses where he was, the cell towers, they had that all mapped out. And we all know how that technology has increased lately, has increased greatly to where once that gets forensically looked at by the FBI and everybody involved, and they get that down and technical about it, they pretty much can pinpoint timing wise pretty much very well. It's not exact science, but it's pretty good. Hello, Sleet. It's nice of you to be here. Let me just see. Ah, I do not know who the crazy-eyed woman in the background is, but I will try to research that. I do want to say maybe it's one of the attorney assistants, but I'm not so sure. Okay. Yeah, incompetence is a pretty bad way to go here. For sure, John. I agree. Uh You know, I'm telling you, I'm no. If the shirt can't test it, you must have quit. I know that was the like with the glove. I get it. Johnny Cochran. I see they sprayed it with ethanol, which destroyed any potential evidence. Yes, something. It turned it black. Um, Blue blood on the ground. Did he kill a Vulcan? No, I know, John. No, blue is what the blood turns when they spray it with a certain chemical. If you first of all, they couldn't see all the blood on the shirt, but they spray with like we all know luminol, right? You watch the detective shows and everything, and they spray the room, and all of a sudden, all the blue comes up, the white lighted blue everywhere on where blood was. What's left behind? You can't visibly see the blood, but even when wiped down, you can pretty much see that it had been there. Okay. Something like that. I don't know the technical testing that well. That's why I'm going to share for you. Oh, where is it? We had the document up a minute ago, but I wanted to share that with you because I will have it down in the links. It is down in the links already because it is. Mm, they go into uh great actual detail into the process of the testing and all in there in the actual document itself. I mean, it's 96 pages about a shirt. So that's the article where you can find the actual motion to exclude. Fox News actually printed the whole thing up without you having to go to the county to get it, which I normally do. So I'll just give you that one so you don't have to, I don't have to recreate the link and everything. Um, I'm trying to look to see. Uh, yeah. Yeah, I hear, that would be crazy, John. Can you imagine? It looks for DNA. It would be just, I don't want to know. It bonds to proteins in the blood. Yes, Liam. Thank you. Oh, unfortunately, John, in regards to the legal system, this comment here about like if you've got the money, you're not going to face any real consequences. Let's just say you can actually pay for people to delay it for a really long time. I do have faith in the legal system that eventually it's going to come through, but you can make it harder. Yes, you can. If you have the right money, attorneys, I do agree. And it's kind of sad. It's not exactly an even playing field. We want it to be, and the legal system it strives to be. But it's not perfect, and we all know that, and we see things go awry every time. Um, but yeah, I mean, you got the money to file, you can muck it up, really. Yeah, I remember John, 2.5 Men with the black light. And yeah, Deb, you really don't want to be putting that, like, black light stuff in all those public places. Um, Sean, I think, is this about Trump or Murdaugh? Because basically both of them have done this. They have totally bankrupted many companies by not paying them. They have destroyed families, Murdaugh in particular, by not coming through with the money for lawsuits that they had that he actually won awards with. He misappropriated his own company's funds. His own family of lawyers and the lawyer partnerships have renamed, totally got rid of him. He's disbarred. They want nothing. I mean, you can't even say the name Murdaugh around them. They even changed the name of their practice. They don't want nothing to do with it. Mhm. Para lawyers specializing in ghost-related legal issues. Are you, Aaron? Thank you. You want to talk to me about that, okay? Cool. And thanks for being here. Hey, NANA, I didn't see you come in. Thank you. And whoever got that bot, thank you very much for getting rid of the bot. Hey, Nippit, I hope you're feeling well today. It's good to see you. Yep. In regards to the taxes on, I'm now looking at some of your questions that you had in regards to the Trump Organization lawsuit. Yes, it's about taxes not being paid because you're recategorizing things inappropriately. Happens all the time. Okay. He's admitting it. He said, "Yes, it happened." Okay. I'm really curious to see where they're going to go with the defense on this because actually saying, "Oh, they acted on their own." And Bender and Weisselberg, like they have a relationship there because, he had to sign his check. So he didn't want to piss him off. And that's why he's, talking about the tax report the way it is and the information, how it could clearly have been misconstrued, that it was purposely misconstrued because it was very evident what the items were being paid for. Um, and that's the case in a nutshell, is that how did you make that mistake? That's not a mistake. Okay. That's not a mistake. That's what they're saying. Okay. Yeah, John, she does look a little bit like a Karen, I guess. I want to talk to your manager. I get it. It's not a very, I mean, I tried to get one of him. That's the most recent way he looks now, with his head all clean shaven like that. Yep. I think you guys are right, Liam. I think you might have somebody messed up something. Someone else did something also to the shirt. I think you're right. I think there was something that happened inappropriately. Um, you know, uh, I get it. I do. I think you're right. A few small, medium-sized security firms around here have gone bust waiting for large companies to pay them. The large companies don't care about those who they hire to care for them. This is true, unfortunately, and they hold up billing and stuff. They do have more control, and I don't think they have as much regard as I would like to see for how they're affecting others. I mean, you need them. You really shouldn't mistreat your workforce. You need them. They are the backbone of your company. They are in how you treat them and how they present themselves outside will represent your company. I mean, come on, you know? No, Sleet. This is the edition of Law and Order more merged with NCIS special YouTube edition. Dum dum. I hear you and thank you. That was amusing. that was amusing in a not so amusing cases today. I'll tell you. Okay. Well, on that, we've gone an hour and 15. So unless you guys have any other questions, yep, luminol spray, Alice. Yes, definitely luminol. But if you guys don't have any other questions, I think I'm going to wrap up. I'm going to be doing quite a few very interesting things this week. I'm looking at a Amber Heard Johnny Depp update. Yeah, don't groan too loudly. I mean, I asked a few of you in the Discord. I'm going to put it on my community tab. Please vote. Okay, I want you to vote on how much of the Trump lawsuits you want to hear about because I don't want to bore you. I want you to find as much entertainment as I do in it, but if you don't, I definitely don't want to bore you with it. Okay. I'm also looking at doing another Manson update. I also have an interview coming up with Doug Scott Kramer, an ex-Scientologist. It's going to be early in the morning next week, at the end of the week. I'm really looking forward to talking to him. I so enjoyed talking to Chris Shelton, and I hope you all will join me with that because we're also waiting on the Masterson trial. The jury is in. They're back and they're talking and there's been stuff. We'll be doing an update on that. But maybe we will have an actual verdict this week on that. Did you see Amber Heard's appeal brief dropped? Geez, what a load. Yes, I've got to get it. So anybody who has the actual copy of it, hey, I'm your girl, Cindy. I'd be your friend. Send it to me. I can find it. I will. But I've actually been looking at the amicus brief that was filed on her. Um, mm, and that was also quite a load. And yeah, Colin, I know I'm all back in it, and I know you were with me when I was in it before on Ranty's channel when we covered the live coverage. Yeah, he amicus cream brief. I get it, Colin. I get it. It's an amicus brief. Did I missay it? Because I very well could, because that was so damn funny during the trial. Man, did I just have flashbacks? I did, and that was a great time. And many of you here in the chat, I met you there, and I'm so glad that we're still talking and we're still doing this kind of stuff together. So thank you. If you have anything on Amber Heard, Johnny Depp that you want to talk about, my DMs are open. I'm on Instagram, Twitter. You've got my email right on the back of my channel. Like, you can reach me, people. Those of you in the Discord, you talk to me about any of it that you want, send me a DM. Okay. But on that, I think that I'm gonna call. You want? Oh, Rob Ski. Let me put this up because JL would be nice to hear that. Let's just put that right up there. More JL Warren stuff. That was great. Hey, you know what? Promote that video out there a little bit. Go talk to JL. I would talk to JL Warren anytime about that. His psychological perspective, even on the serial killers that have influenced Hollywood horror, his genre, so to speak. Mine was the serial killer. His was the Hollywood horror, and they came together. Boom! Like it was just perfection. I sat there in awe the whole time. I truly enjoyed speaking with him, and I definitely would love to do anything else with him that he'd like. Come up with another serial killer. We did Ed Gein. Let's talk about some more that have influenced. I'm sure we could try. Mm. And yes, John, I did hear about all of that with the established titles, and I might do a little bit of brief on that as an upload. Um, but it's gonna be on who handled it well and who didn't. I think I was quite impressed on those that actually came forward and just admitted and did whatever they could to straighten it out. It's an interesting thing. Yeah, American Brulee Sleep. Okay, you guys are funny. All right, on that, let let me do the YouTube thing. Don't forget to like, share, and comment. Commenting on the back of my videos actually helps with the algorithm. Don't forget to hit that like if you haven't already. I might not know you're here. I can see the numbers. Then go down there, push that like up. If you think anybody be interested in stuff like this, don't, share the link. Tell them about it a little bit. I love talking to people about this kind of stuff. Even if there are other cases that you think are interesting, like John is bringing up the established titles stuff that's going on or anything like that, hey, I'm open. Come talk to me. I want this to be interesting for you like it is for me. And thank you, Alice. I'm so glad you're here. I really appreciate your support. Those guys over at Foul Play, I can't believe what they're doing for the wrongfully convicted. Their work is amazing also. You guys know I promote them too. Awesome team over there, and I'm so glad that we're all talking and having things in common. Okay, and not to forget the bot zapping mods. I never forget my mods, Liam, never, because they make this easy for me. So thank you to all of you. And on that, I'm just going to say it's going to be a very, very busy week. And keep your eye on the community tab and notifications. And if you're listening and you haven't bothered to subscribe, you're not going to know what I'm doing. You got to subscribe. You got to ring that bell so you get the notifications, because it's going to be happening around here for the next couple of weeks. So go ahead. Don't be afraid. I'm really harmless. I really am. Okay. And on that, we're out for the night. Have a good one, everybody. You'll probably hear from me tomorrow.